Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing out there? Welcome back to another episode of Shoot the Hoot RAW. I'm Chuck Taylor, co-founder, chief go-getter, and living proof that enthusiasm beats preparedness, at least most days. So folks, we're back. Feathers fluffed, caffeine engaged, and ready to dive beat first into another episode that's equal parts cybersecurity, sarcasm, and solid advice. Now, whether you're tuning in from your office, your couch, or that mysterious bat booth at the Starbucks. Who is that guy anyway? Today's episode is for everyone who's ever looked at phishing tests and thought, wait, we're doing that now? We're shining a spotlight on one of the most overlooked mistakes in the cybersecurity culture, dropping tests on untrained users and calling it strategy. Spoiler alert, it's not. But don't worry, we're not here to point fingers. Nope, no finger pointing, right? We're here to give you the tools, the mindset, and the jokes to make your cybersecurity culture stronger, smarter, and way less panic-inducing. So if you've got 5 minutes and a functioning sense of humor, you're in the right place. So let's hoot, let's learn, and let's get into it. All right, here's today's flight plan and how things are going to go. So buckle up. First off, our 5-minute rant. Pop quiz, you fail. We're taking things off with a hard truth wrapped in a little humor. We're talking about why surprise phishing tests on untrained users are the cybersecurity equivalent of handing someone a math test before they've even seen the numbers. It's not training, it's a setup. And yes, feelings will be validated. Then we'll roll into the CyberHoot nerd update. Faster, smoother, and smarter. This is where we nerd out a little bit on what's under the hood, what's new. We have performance boost, smoother workflows, and smarter tools that make security easier, not harder. Think fewer UGs and more, oh, nice. After that, it's open mic Q&A, rapid fire, mildly rehearsed answers. Your questions, my honest answers, no shaming and no jargon soup here. Just real talk about training, testing, culture, and how not to accidentally torch trust with your users. And finally, our hoot-worthy horror story, the $46 million mistake, right? When a fake email and fake emails becomes the real pain. It's a true story, a very expensive lesson, and a reminder that emails and clicks can turn into a headline that no one wants. So that's the plan. We rant, we learn, we answer questions, and we scare you just enough to make better decisions. So let's get this thing airborne. Let's get going. All right. So imagine walking into your first Spanish class, still trying to remember if taco counts as a word, and the teacher slaps down a pop quiz. Translate this 500-word essay, no notes, no help, buena suerte. You're like, I thought this was like intro to Spanish, not mission imposible, right? Or picture this. It's your first day in the hospital. You're ready for orientation, maybe a tour of the cafeteria. And instead, someone hands you a scalpel and says, patient's prepped, try to hit an artery. Excuse me? That's what it's like when a company launches a phishing test before any training. No prep, no warm-up, just surprise, you failed. It's not just unfair, it's demoralizing. You didn't catch a vulnerability, you created one. People start to dread security instead of respecting it. They don't build habits, they build resentment when you do this. It's like giving someone a field sobriety test before they've even learned how to drive. Or judging their fire safety knowledge by pulling a Dwight from the office, lighting some fireworks, warming doorknobs, and burning trash to create smoke and yelling, well, what do we do now, right? Let's stop giving these tests if you never gave them the tools to pass. At CyberHoot, we believe learning should lead testing, not the other way around. Train first, build confidence, then test to reinforce. That's how behavior changes. That's how security sticks. So yeah, surprise quizzes might work in high school math, but when it comes to cybersecurity, don't build muscle by tripping people. You build it by training them. So let's talk about what actually works. Learning first, testing second, and habits forever. Okay, look, I'm not against testing, right? Look, I failed a number of tests in my day. I'm not against testing. We're ashamed. But let's be real. There's a real problem out there. So this is the reason why pilots don't go to flight school before taking off with 150 screaming passengers and a beverage cart. Because no one says, let's see if they figure it out at 30,000 feet in the air. No, yet in cybersecurity, some orgs still believe the best way to teach is to skip the lesson and throw a pop quiz. Did they click that fake Dropbox link? That's on them. No, it's on us, right? The teachers, the learners, the one providing the training. Because when people know what to look for, those sketchy links, the weird urgency, the oddball domains, that is when they build confidence. They learn to pause. They learn to hover. They learn to question. But when you skip the training and jump straight to the testing, what you actually get is confusion, anxiety, and, well, I'll just click less emails altogether, which, by the way, isn't a strategy. It's email starvation. So here's a stat for your next management meeting. According to Proofpoint, 88% of data breaches are caused by human error, not system failure, not malware wizardry, just human oopsies. So why are we playing gotcha security? Cybersecurity isn't a trap. It's a training ground. Let's stop trying to catch people and start trying to coach them. Oh, and by the way, at the last Black Hat, they reported that traditional phish testing without training and coaching is only 1.7% effective. That's less than a 2% return on investment. Yikes, not good. So train them to win before you expect them to play defense, because a confident employee is a cautious employee, and cautious employees don't end up on breach reports or Reddit. So now, when we flip the script and train before we test, things click. But when we skip straight to testing without a safety net, that's when things go sideways fast. Let's talk about what happens when the first lesson feels like a trap. All right, here's the uncomfortable truth. If someone's first cybersecurity experience is a surprising phishing test and they fail, their brain does not say, wow, I learned something new today. No, it says, this is dumb, I'm in trouble, and IT's out to get me. And sometimes it gets worse than that. Employees aren't just embarrassed, sometimes they're demoted and even fired. I saw a post on Reddit, and no, I'm not naming any names, where someone at a major well-known bank was terminated within the first year after failing just 2 phishing tests. No coaching, no second chances, just a pink slip and a reminder that gotcha training has real consequences. And now, the bank is reportedly trying to claw back the tuition reimbursement they had previously given this guy. Ouch. Talk about adding injury to insult, right? Whether every detail of this holds up or not, here's the part that does matter. That's not training. That's fear-based enforcement. And fear does not build habits. It builds resentment. Early failures don't motivate people to improve. They will disengage. They stop trusting the process. They start treating security like a landmine instead of a skill. And when users feel tricked, they don't think, next time I'll hover. They think, how do I avoid getting caught? That's the opposite of what we want. Now look, again, I'm not against testing. Testing has a place, but testing before teaching is like handing someone a driver's test before they've even seen a steering wheel. Instead, lead with useful, practical training. Build confidence first, then reinforce with quick, low-stress challenges like Hootfish that rewards learning instead of punishing mistakes. Because cybersecurity isn't about catching people in a gotcha moment. It's about training them to think before the real attacker shows up. And real attackers, they don't care if HR approves your phish policy. They just care if someone clicks. So, train first, test second. So yeah, maybe we don't need to ambush our users with trick questions on day one. How about we train them first, build their confidence, and then see what they've learned? Speaking of building things the right way, our dev team has been hard at work making CyberHoot faster, smarter, and just a little nerdier. Let's check out what's new in this week's CyberHoot Nerd Update. All right, Nerd Owls. This week's update is all about cleanup, clarity, and making your life just a little bit smoother. We added new options to preview and send welcome emails via our API, because nothing says professional like getting that onboarding message right the first time. Whether you want to test it, tweak it, or automate it, now you can. Manager compliance reports, now generating faster than ever. Blink and you're going to miss them, which is great because managers have the attention span of a squirrel on espresso. We also gave the cybersecurity summary report a little makeover. A little cleaner layout, a little bit more accurate data, and No more showing info you didn't even ask for. Because reporting should feel like insight, not interrogation. You also find some new tools to manage video language settings, which makes customizing multilingual content a breeze. No more digging through obscure menus. It's all where it should be. Finally, some solid server and database cleanup under the hood. It's the digital equivalent of flossing, I guess. It's not flashy, but trust us, things run way better when it's done. So if it feels like things are snappier this week, they are. Hoot up. All right, updates complete. Nerd brains fully loaded. Now let's shift gears and open up the floor. It's time for the Q&A where no question is too simple, too spicy, or too strangely specific. Let's do this. Oh, almost forgot. But first, be the first to email trainfirst10 to shootthehoot@cyberhoot.com and get 10% off your next invoice. Type it in, click send, and get that 10. And if you're not watching this live, no worries. Email us anyway. I want to hear from you. On to our Q&A. All right, I'll look for some questions from the field, right? Let's see. It's that time, it's that part of the show where I want your curiosity to take the mic. And don't fear asking any dumb questions that get left at the door. Ask all your questions, right? Let's talk about training, testing, and why your employee shouldn't need a survival guide to pass a phishing test. These are real questions, real answers, minus the jargon, plus a few dad jokes. And oh, by the way, the dad jokes, let's have one. What do prisoners use to call each other? What do prisoners use to call each other? Cell phones, but I kid. Anyways, let's see if there's any questions here. Again, if there's no questions, I'm going to throw in some of the ones that we've received, some of the standard general questions. All right. So, question number 1. How often should we be running phishing training simulations once training is in place? So I think phishing training, the phishing training should be, well, think drip, not dump. Monthly is a solid rhythm. It keeps users sharp without fatigue. So CyberHoot's Autopilot takes care of all the scheduling for you. Just choose your cadence, whether it's monthly, every other month, or quarterly, and it handles the rest. No spreadsheets, no chasing, just set it and forget it. Our Hoot Fish training gives users monthly phishing training and awareness. Then you can follow it with an annual or semi-annual attack phishing test. After, of course, the heads up. All right, let's see. Another question here. Oh, here's one. Shouldn't phishing tests be a surprise to get a real response? Sure. If your goal is anxiety, resentment, maybe a resignation letter. Surprise testing without prior training doesn't measure awareness. It measures luck. Instead, train first, then test. It's not rocket science. It's just good leadership. Personally, I like to give users a few months of Hoot Fish training first. Let them build the muscle memory to spot red flags, understand where to hover, and what to watch for. Then, before sending out a phishing test, I recommend setting the stage. Send them an email that says, hey team, just a heads up, we'll be running a phishing simulation sometime this month. It's not a trap, don't worry, just a way for us to see how much we've learned and how our training is paying off. No surprises here, just good old-fashioned communications and teamwork. Right? Other questions? All right. What if someone fails a phishing test? Do we call them out, retrain, fire them? Yes, yes, yes. Psych. No, no, no. No. Please don't fire them unless your goal is, of course, job listings and not security. I won't talk about the overhead cost of firing someone, interviewing the replacement, and then the new hire training. Way too expensive. I could pay for your whole year of for 10 years of training, actually. Instead, assign a quick refresher video or a follow-up Hootfish training. With Autopilot, CyberHoot automatically assigns a video training and the exact Hootfish training that matched the phishing test they just failed, reinforcing the lesson while it's still fresh in their minds. Because reinforcement builds habit, humiliation builds turnover. And like I said, for someone to leave or to get fired or let go, to hire their replacement, to train them, it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars when you're just give them just cybersecurity training, which is going to be a fraction of what it's going to cost you just to hire someone new. So, all right. Questions have been answered. Maybe some feathers ruffled, but now let's shift from what could happen to what actually did happen. Because it's time for a Hoot-worthy horror story that proves why this stuff matters in the real world. So, Let's rewind to 2015. Wow, wow. That's 11 years ago, just so you guys know. It seems like yesterday, 11 years ago. This is when Ubiquity Networks, a major tech company, learned a $46.7 million lesson in email trust issues. The setup, simple, classic click without the hover. A couple of cyber criminals pretending to be the CEO and outside legal counsel sent what looked like legitimate internal emails to the finance department of one of Ubiquity's Hong Kong subsidiaries. The emails were polished. They referenced real people. They sounded urgent because that's the game, right? And worst of all, they worked. Someone in finance, thinking they were just doing their job, wired millions of dollars to what turned out to be overseas fraudster accounts. By the time anyone smelled fish, $46.7 million was already swimming in foreign waters. And here's the kicker. There was no malware. There was no hacking wizardry, just emails, spoofed, smart, and staggeringly successful. Ubiquity did recover about 8 million, but the rest, gone. I don't know about you guys. I mean, recovering $8 million sounds good, but you realize that the other 38.7 million are still out there. That stings a little bit, right? And all of this happened because someone trusted emails that looked official. But here's the real lesson. Malicious emails today don't look like the amateur spam of the 90s. They look like your boss. They look like your vendor. They look normal until they aren't. And if your team isn't trained to pause, analyze links, verify senders, and question expectations, even the most trusted message can cost you millions. Traditional gotcha tests don't prepare people for this. Realistic, empathetic, step-by-step training does. That's why training before testing and teaching users what the real threats look like isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. We have to do this. So I've talked a lot about that. Whew. So it's hard to compete with a $46 million gut punch. But let's take that cautionary tale and turn it into action. Let's wrap up this episode with a few key takeaways and next steps to keep your team on the headline, out of the headlines, and in the clear. So we learned that surprise pop quizzes, trick questions, and gotcha phishing tests aren't just bad ideas, they're morale killers. Let's flip the script. Train first, test smart, reinforce with purpose, and keep your team on your side, not in panic mode. Remember, cybersecurity isn't about embarrassing people. It's about empowering them to spot the scam before it spread. Now, if you like what you saw today, go ahead and like this episode. Share it with a fellow OWL or IT pal. Hit us up with questions or topics you want to see on future shows. Next week, it's getting a little spicy. We're diving into the world of custom phishing. Yep, we'll show you how to create your own phishing templates using CyberHoot's new tools that we're going out, I believe, next Tuesday. Yeah, next Tuesday they'll be going out. So we'll be talking about that next Tuesday. We're going to have tailored tests, better training, and maybe, just maybe, a few City CEO iTunes gift card scams for realism's sake. Until then, stay sharp, stay kind, don't forget to laugh, learn, and hoot up.